Hello and welcome to the Weight Free Wellness Podcast. I'm your hostess and the creator of the Weight Free Wellness Podcast and also the author of You-niversal Self-care, Improved Health Through Self-Understanding. I don't think I said my name, did I? I just said I am. I'm Tara Bachland, and you already know that if you've already tuned into this podcast. If not, hello. And today we're talking with Dr. Rory once again. He's a regular guest. He's, to me, a local functional medicine practitioner. And if you don't know what that is, well, keep listening because you'll find out the many wonderful aspects of functional medicine. And it's really a newer way of approaching health and wellness in a natural, very integrated way. So if you have found these podcasts interesting, you want to know what's coming up next, make sure to follow us on Facebook. It's Weight Free Wellness. Get our newsletter. I only send them out every once in a while just to make sure that you're caught up to date. But also what I'm going to be doing more and more is letting you know who's coming on next. So you can send your questions ahead of time. Like today, we got a great question from Penny, which we'll be addressing because today's topic is fatigue. And fatigue, it happens to all of us, right? Especially around the holidays. Currently, we're past the holidays. So why the heck are we feeling fatigued still? So when I was asking Dr. Rory, what do you think would be a good topic to cover next? What's happening in your office a lot? And he has said fatigue is a big one. And, I'm excited myself to learn more about it. We had a little bit of discussion talking about stage 2 adrenals. So anyways, we'll get to all of that. So Dr. Rory, how you doing?
Hi, Tara. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you too. So fatigue, what are people coming in with questions about? How do people right off the bat say that, hey, I'm fatigued, or do you just see these symptoms in them?
Uh-oh. It says my internet connection is unstable. Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can see and hear you just fine.
Oh, okay. I'm back on. So obviously we have a tone of what we were talking about for the last couple of times, and fatigue seemingly is something that's natural to our culture because we are certainly a culture that likes to be on edge, and we're a doing culture, So adrenals seemingly is a very common pattern, and we use the word fatigue, of course, which relates to just being tired. And tired for different people just seems like it's very subjective to each person. Like tired for one person could be the inability to stay asleep or disrupted sleep, or for another person it could be just the inability to not fulfill the daily tasks, or noticing when they're trying to work out or eat certain foods or be available to do a certain task, that the energy is not there. They just can't come up to task for it to do that. So it just becomes very noticeable. And there's a lot of symptoms that tie in, of course. So I just said to you already, like the inability to do exercise or sleeping disruption, things like libido, of course, or retention of weight. And those are just small aspects of how we all do it differently. So the functional medicine is always interesting to do it individually in the person, because then we can see how that fatigue influences that person. Because fatigue may influence somebody through the hormonal system, or it may influence somebody else through the digestive system. And for another person, it could be things like memory. So that's a neurotransmitter. So it's always nice to do the detective work to track it down for oneself to see where that fatigue is actually coming from. We're always looking for the cause, right?
So it sounds like, a person may not know that it's really fatigue. I think we operate in that mode a lot of the times, don't we? I personally watch other people's lives from the outside, and it feels tiring just watching some people. And, but that's obviously me interpreting through my own body. And does it seem like we just get stuck on autopilot, where do people come in and they just aren't actually aware that they're fatigued, like you said, because it can affect them hormonally or digestive or memory, and it doesn't. Is it so obvious that it's fatigue?
Well, one of the biochemical reactions to fatigue is that your adrenaline gets high. And it doesn't allow us to be very perceptive or very present in the moment. So we're kind of running around a lot. And so we can't really engage in our symptoms. We can't really sense and feel a whole lot in our own bodies, like what's going on, like paying attention to your circadian rhythm, for instance. So yeah, there's a bit of a blockage there, isn't there?
Yeah. And that circadian rhythm thing, maybe explain to us a little bit from a functional medicine point of view what the circadian rhythm is.
Well, our rhythms are natural rhythms to your daily event, from rising in the morning to your midday, how you feel in the midday, to the later in the day, evening, and to going to bed at nighttime. So one of the ways we like to test, and it's one of our questions we would obviously talk about today, is, well, how do we measure our circadian, and what's a natural circadian rhythm? So in our office, for instance, we do a simple saliva test. It's an adrenocortical test that can tell us our cortisol or DHEA, and sometimes we can test for melatonin as well. But those hormones tend to rise very early in the morning to get us out, get our physical bodies moving, and get us out of bed and get us moving during the day. And then progressively throughout the day, then it starts going down naturally. It's supposed to go down till you go to bed at night, between 9 and 12 o'clock. So we're supposed to calm and relax. So your cortisol can't be high and for you to get to bed at nighttime. But due to our stresses and how many things people have to do and juggling around and, our busy daily lives. And so cortisol, we ask our body, it's like a feedback mechanism. We ask our body to increase the adrenaline, to increase our cortisol so that we can get by and do all the things we need to do. But there's a price to pay for all that, obviously. So we like to use a fancy term called metabolic reserve, which just means, hey, you got to build up those it's kind of like your metaphor with the bank, that you have your savings account. So you build up all these chips on the side, and then you can go into it and kind of take the chips out eventually, if you have activities and things to do. But the key is, of course, as a teeter-totter, you have to build up the good chips, And the only way to really do that is it's your downtime, it's your fun time, it's your laughter time, it's connective creativity, just light exercising, and so that's how we build up the chips so we can use them then for our stress times.
I've noticed that in my body, I have to take that time, like really focus on taking that time. It can't just be watching a movie. For me, watching a movie doesn't do it. And maybe you can confirm if this might be the interpretation that other people might feel as well, that for me, that downtime is when my body feels like it's saying, like that letting go. Otherwise, I feel like I'm on. And I literally have to write in my schedule when I'm working and when I'm taking that off time.
And that's a great analogy, because you're able to be present, of course, and to feel those symptoms and feel our rhythms in our body. But the majority of our culture cannot do that. And to reflect on that, this is why we have a lot of interfacing technology right now between our outer reality and our inner reality. And so the common one that we all know is Fitbit, right? So it is a device that is supposed to pick up, things like our rhythm, our disrupted sleep patterns, your walking. It's going to pick up some numbers for you. And in hindsight, we should be able to know a lot of these things, but we need those interfaces right now to help us to come back into our bodies again. And they're working, and they work phenomenally well. So for instance, over Christmas, I bought a device called the Muse. So it's a biofeedback device. It's a headband that can pick up both your alpha and beta rhythms. And so you hook it up with your phone or an app or an iPad, and it can help you know when you're having more disruptive patterns, or if you're connecting or not, or how your breathing and rhythms are, and it can give you feedback to that. So the more that we interchange like this, the more the good rhythm is and not the disruptive rhythm.
Right. Yeah, that feedback. I know the Heart Math app has helped me with that, to know what it feels like to be in that harmony. And then I can notice it too, like if I'm in a yoga class, or if I'm laying in the sun somewhere, hopefully sometime soon, that I can recognize what that feels like. Otherwise, you don't know what you don't know. You don't remember what it's like to feel like a kid and
Right.
be carefree. It's easy to stay in that, like we mentioned in a past podcast, the tired but wired state.
Right.
So am I hearing correctly that this has a lot to do with the adrenals?
It does. And I kind of jumped there. I apologized especially about the lab, because, it'll pick up your morning. It's 4 phases. It's going to pick up your morning, your midday, your evening, and your nighttime. So we want to see a gradual progression from rising in the morning to going lower in the day. And if we see a pattern where you're spiking, where you're supposed to be relaxing, or when you're really low, when you're supposed to be picking up, we'll have a good idea where your adrenal system is at. Like if you're really tired or in a phase 2 adrenal fatigue position. And so we use things like adaptogens or picker-uppers or calmer-downers in the natural world that can really help with that.
Yeah, so you're mentioning primarily you're testing for cortisol, correct?
Yeah.
And that has gotten a bad rap in, the natural and even the allopathic realm, but we need cortisol, right?
Oh, we absolutely need it. I mean, without cortisol, for instance, you wouldn't be able to have any glucose metabolism, because it has to rise up to allow the insulin sensitivity to function correctly, to drive that energy into your cells and to allow you to propel you, to move you. So we need that feedback. But unfortunately, there's too much of the exaggerated feedback. And so the demand on the body is that the cortisol is always going to be high. So because of that, we will decrease a lot of metabolic processes in the body. So as I alluded to at the beginning, it's like for some people, it's brain fog. For other people, the inability to fulfill exercise, or for another person, it could be a digestive or an indigestion issue.
Yeah, I've definitely personally been able to notice mine reacts more through my digestion. I can say for sure. And then it shows up in my skin as well, which are related along the lines somewhere, but we all have our own signs. And I think the whole point of this podcast is to hit on these little points so people can become more aware and more familiar with how their bodies act and react. And even the whole point of body typing, that some people actually doing vigorous exercise helps to relieve them and relieve stress, and other people, but especially if you're doing it all the time, it creates too much stress, wouldn't you say, and overtaxes the body and then the adrenal system. What are some, just a quick list of things that are taxing our bodies in this way that are adding to the fatigue?
Well, the obvious one is the low-grade stress. It's kind of like going through something in your life that's taxing you, and it's just constantly going on. It's like a low-grade sound that's going on in the background, and you're getting by during the day, but you can hear it. It's buzzed. There's a buzzing sound. So that's just a simple metaphor for maybe you're having a problem in a relationship, or you're going through a hard time at work, or whatever, an inability to say no to people. Boundaries, of course, and communication is a big one, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. So if a person even already has digestive issues, I would assume certain foods or even caffeine. I know that's a big one for me, that I have to be really careful how much caffeine I take in, or the amount of vigorous exercise can overstress my body. I only have one body and tax my system.
And that's true. Coffee, of course, is an herb, and it's a very good one. But when we are in a position, when we are in hyperadrenal mode, coffee may not be functioning as well for you as you may think it would be in the long term. It's a very good adrenergic herb and an adaptogen that can help you pick up your energy. So, but if you're in a stage 2 place where your adrenals are in hypercortisol and your adrenaline's up, and you're just adding to the fire. So unfortunately, we got to calm our energies down first, and to allow coffee to be of benefit then.
Right. So we did get a question from Penny, and
yes.
She is just over 50, and her question is that she just started a weight workout routine, and she finds that she's fatigued afterwards. If she came into your office and that's all you knew about her, what might you first address or ask?
Well, of course, I don't really kind of hone in too much on the age thing, because I think we're all humans, and it's pretty obvious that, so if she's not able to adapt to exercising, we want to look at simple things like, well, is our body utilizing glucose, for instance, for metabolism? Is she getting enough energy into her system to fulfill the need to work out and get the benefit of the workout? So metabolism can be a big one. And then to address her, obviously we would ask some great questions about, her history. Is she in a stressful position right now? Like, are her adrenals, are they up? And so I'll do a multi-system questionnaire with her and address her stress questions. And if we want to back that up, then we would do a pretty inexpensive test, like it's just a saliva test for cortisol to test that. And we would know for sure then, if the stress test will bring up the cortisol, if that is a problem. Because if she's in a stage 2, so stage 1 just means that our cortisols we are kind of spiking up and our adrenaline is high. And so the cortisol stays high and it locks it up. And stage 2 then is just more of that we tend to crash over time. And so if we don't have a balanced system and she's not adapting to working out, we need to know this information, because we're otherwise guessing otherwise. So the test would tell us where she's spiking, and then we would give some herbs to help her calm that down and get into a natural state. So I guess it's a long-winded way to say she may not be utilizing her metabolism correctly, and so she may not be burning and accessing both fat and protein in her system. Mm-hmm. And she may be fatigued because her engine isn't firing correctly.
And from my experience, that could also even hinder someone if they're trying to work out to lose weight. If you have high cortisol, that could cause your body to actually hold on to weight, does it not? Absolutely.
And because remember in the last podcast, I think we spoke about the distribution of fat in our body. There's a direct correlation with our endocrine challenge. So endocrine challenge, and what we're talking about right now, is hormonal. And if cortisol is high, then we look at our midsection and our belly. Mm-hmm. So if the rest of you is well toned and you look slender, or you're gaining lean tissue mass, and all of a sudden you see an area in your body that it's just not letting go, right? So we know the difference between apples and pears. So we know the pear-shaped midsection and glutes. That could be estrogen dominance, but a lot of love handles usually is either insulin, and in the front area is most commonly cortisol imbalances. So that's a good predictor to look at a person that can tell us, and then we back it up with a lab test to confirm that, and then we help calm her down more. So we do a lot of biofeedback and help with sleeping patterns. Maybe hypoglycemia is an issue with her, so we correct those imbalances. Or she may have an infection in the gut. Dysglycemia or dysbiosis, which is an imbalance between the good bugs and the bad bugs, could be a contributor also to her cortisol. So this is what functional medicine means, and it's a ruling out process.
But it sounds like, you're not a person's not alone. If Penny comes into you, or when I come into you, I tell you the things that I'm noticing, and you put the pieces together. It's not up to me. Although I like to take an active role, the great thing about working with a practitioner that can help you put together these pieces is...
Well, obviously we all need a mentor. This just goes without saying, doesn't it? I don't claim to know everything about a car, so I bring it into the mechanic, So I need help. You go to that professional who knows about that stuff. So the nice thing about functional medicine is you look at a multi-system. We're trained to look at the whole body, the whole system. Because the person who comes in front of you, it may be more of their GI relating to the cortisol. If somebody else, it may be their brain and neurotransmitter relating to the cortisol. So we want to address that with the person.
Right.
But the inability to adapt or recuperate after an event of an exercise can certainly tell you a lot. That cortisol it's either way too high and it's locked up in that stage, and we want to help just bring that down. And most people, of course, as we know, we live in a society, in a world right now that's a little bit stressed out for many reasons. So we want to see how people are sleeping and how they're relating with the stress. And, because there's another thing that I just got a new system questionnaire recently, and it's about perceived stress. And it's an interesting concept that, your way of reacting, if you saw a lion, to how I react to seeing a lion, we may be different.
Very much true. That adaptability is important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it leads into what might be the last question. So there are 4 stages of adrenal fatigue, correct?
Yes.
And would you give us maybe a snapshot of what a person might be feeling or the symptoms that they may be experiencing at each stage?
Sure. Well, I want you to hold in mind first the idea that I mentioned about the metabolic reserve. So you build up your healthy chips on the side. So we always go into the bank, we deposit this, the money that we have. And sometimes we need the money for other things, activities or, purchasing something. So keeping that in mind. So stage 1 just means you're going to the bank and you're taking some money out. Okay. So that means you're getting up in the morning, you have something to do. So stage 1 is just your body's ability to adapt to whatever thing that you're demanding of your body to do. So we should be arising and relaxing with every event. So stage 2 just means that our cortisol stay up a little bit higher than usual, and they're not gradually relaxing. So that means it's a non-adaptive stage. So we're not really, it's still reactive and we're not adapting. So it's not going down. And that is the stage when we tend to, we have problems with, the sleep maybe coming in, our achy body, or we're not, adapting and getting over the exercise regimen, and, simple things like maybe indigestion or a bloat maybe seeping in at this stage, So stage 3 then obviously is we're definitely crashing, right? So now the full-blown symptoms kind of kick out a lot, and it's much more obvious where we are. So that the test would certainly bring up these stages for us, and it'd be very easy to pick up stage 1, 2, 3, and 4 with people. And to get a really better quantitative analysis of this, you'd want to do it a couple of days in a row. But of course, that would cost a little bit more money because we see a better consistency that way. So as you further progress in the stages of adrenal fatigue, there's obviously more symptoms that kind of seep in. So our ability, for instance, a big one for humans, of course, is our libido. So you look at our sense of touch and connect, our sex, and so we don't want to do those things anymore. We disconnect from people because we don't have the energy to do those things. So these should be clues,
Yeah, the banking metaphor is a really great metaphor. If you don't have the reserves, you don't have enough seemingly to share with other people.
Absolutely.
More than enough, or at least enough for yourself and then some. It's a lot easier to give and share with other people.
I know this is a reason why sometimes I don't like people working out on their own at home. There are times when I want people to be in a group session because that socialization factor is huge for us as humans. We build up endorphins and caffeines just being around people. It's not just because we like the added, competitiveness of being with other people and looking good. But I think we need to be around people. And this is why I think one of the ultimate forms of building up your chips on the side is something like Qigong or Tai Chi, where you're with people and you're doing these slow movements that are very low impact. So we're not building up that inflammation response in the body.
So what if when I'm doing yoga at home, my cats like to join me? Does that count?
Absolutely. Yes.
They love showing off what they can do.
Yeah, well, this is why we love animals, isn't it? I just saw a show on TV the other day, and a homeless person was given the chance to, at a great price, to move into an apartment. And he asked if his dog could move in, and the apartment owner said, "I'm sorry, I know there's no animals allowed." And he goes, he chose to live on the street with his dog. Now, what does that tell you? It's not always about comfort and having a roof over our head. It's more important to be with the ones we love, right? And being around people that we choose them, not just make us feel good, but we offer that to them too, right?
Right. Well, you can tell a cat's and a dog's adrenals are well supplied because they have so much love to share too.
It's easy for them, isn't it?
Yeah. Wait, that's an interesting correlation. It's interesting that the conversation went this way, that that really having a healthy body can attribute to having a healthy life. If you want to feel more fulfilled in life, that feeling healthy, secure in that way, in a certain way, leads to greater degrees of health.
Well, it's a physical body and it's a sensory device. So we're holding all these mechanisms and organs and tissues and cells inside us that they are designed for us to connect and pick up external environmental factors, So this is why stress, environment, toxins, and food impact us a lot. These are the biggest contributors to our ill health.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So maybe to synopsize a little bit, that the fatigue can definitely be correlated to the adrenals. And it can show up in different people in different ways, whether it's a hormonal, digestive, or memory aspect, or even brain fog having to do with that. And that even specifically taking rest, and some of us have to relearn that. I know when we talked about different apps and devices to actually help us remember what that's like. And I think that's pretty important, that we get that, not just an idea of, oh yeah, because this is rest. Because you can go on vacation and not even rest, right?
I know it's quality, right? It's not always quantity. It's about the quality. And that's why we're grading now. We have a grading system in functional medicine to what quality of exercise is, or quality of connecting, or quality, Because, for instance, conventional medicine is enamored with longevity of life and quantity of everything. But quality, of course, I think is a better determinant on how we live our life. So this is why I have not spoken too much today about, what supplements do we use, or what adaptogens do we use, because apparently there's a bigger output with the input of food, what we, stay away from that, kind of stimulates us if we have sensitivities or allergies, or what contributes to, so I talked about the food, but then exercise, of course, and the quality, the type of exercise. So we use things like rhodiola and a lot of different mushrooms that are adaptogenic by nature that can help bring the cortisol down, and things like DHEA as well. So our pregnenolone too, which is a type of a steroid. So these are ways that we can influence the cortisol matrix and how to bring the spikes down in our day and help that circadian, help the rhythms to come back naturally. So there are other ways, besides we can do it with foods and supplements and herbs. And then, of course, we like biofeedback, low impact exercising, quality of sleep.
That's a great point. I hear you say, you summarize, but hearing you say at the end, it's not just what we take, it's also other things that we put into our body, whether it's food or the type of exercise, which I can definitely attest to. I've tried to keep up a vigorous workout schedule or a hard work schedule and take the supplements thinking that they would even out. But it's amazing how if you're running on empty, you can be burning that fuel as fast as you're trying to put it in through other healthy means.
And that's another thing, I haven't really brought up either, is we are a culture of over-exercisers too. And we love because we love physical and big, heavy stimuluses. And unfortunately, sometimes if you are in adrenal cortisol, if you're deprived, if you're fatigued and you're over-exercising, you actually may be making things worse.
Sometimes you have to slow down to speed up, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, we don't have the sensory ability to notice that. And a lot of times we need help.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you've brought up some great points here. Is there anything else that you want to say in conclusion? Did we cover everything?
I think so.
All right. Well, these are great points. And of course, I'll put them all in the show notes so people can easily reference to them. And I encourage people to be in contact with us, interact, Rate for Wellness. You'll find Dr. Rory there also. And let us know what's on your mind, what some of your questions are. We're moving towards doing more interactive kind of podcast. So your participation definitely does help. So thanks for listening today, and until next time.
Thank you, Tara. Have a good day.
Thanks, you too.